Hey everybody, this is En route, and I'm here to make another video. Dude, chill out. Sorry, my dog is freaking out. Oh my god. You are incredibly annoying right now. Okay. So this video today is it's going to be about why it's important for most people, not all people, but most people, to have a moment of just being with themselves and learning about themselves and just being single, you know. I don't know what the whole thing is about why people feel that they need to be constantly connected with another human being. And, you know, I think it comes because of the way I see things. I'm just kind of like, if I can't, you know, deal with myself, like, why would I want to also have to bring on somebody else's things that are going to affect me? It's not like I'm getting a dog. Like, this is a romantic relationship, you know? It's a commitment on an emotional, spiritual, physical level. And that is a lot to give to somebody, you know? And I just feel like too many of us, our culture has made us believe that it's not a big deal. Like, we can have, like, what is it called? It's called hookup culture. You know, like, it's totally okay to just, you know, mess with whoever you want. But it's really not okay, because you are, whether you know it or not, whether you believe in it or not, and that's a big deal, whether you believe in it or not, you are creating enmeshment and bonds in your brain with people that you may not want to be doing that with. And yes, while of course we all make mistakes, we gotta live and learn. Once you see the signs and know how to prevent these things from happening as you mature and you gain a more better understanding of how things work, then, you know, you don't have to keep making those mistakes. So my thing is that I feel like us as human beings, we don't really have a lot of time on Earth. We don't have a lot of time. You know, not as much as we think. You know, when you're young, everything seems to be going so slow, but in reality, you'll realize how fast things are moving. And then you get to see, wow, we don't have a lot of time. And so, you know, it sucks that we live such a short life, honestly, because we don't actually learn the lessons we need to learn. The lessons that we need to learn take so many years to learn if you don't have somebody actually teach you those lessons. So if you have to learn from rock bottom, from scratch, from nothing, it is very difficult, and it takes many years to really get your bearings on properly. It takes many years, and I feel like we take advantage of the youth so much because they don't know better. And I was thinking about this. I was like, wow, you know, I can't count on my hands how many times I've been taken advantage of or manipulated by somebody looking back because I was too young or naive to see what was going on, and they knew it. And it's actually disgusting that we live in a society that preys on your ignorance, preys on your naivety. And, you know, that's why I like to make these videos and have a kind of deeper introspection of things, and also be able to kind of get an eagle eye, you know, of things. Like, we all have our own ignorance. You know, even if you're born into a well-established family life, you will have an ignorance to something, right? Like you have an ignorance to poverty, you have an ignorance to what it's like to start from nothing, to what it's like to have nothing. So because you have that ignorance, because you have that comfort, because you have that handicap, because you are almost, it's kind of like, you know, you're born into a cult, and each kind of lifestyle is its cult in a way. I know it's not really a cult, but that's kind of how it is. It's like people, and then the thing is like you see all these groups, and because everybody like sticks together, everybody has their own beliefs on how things should be and all that stuff, and no way is necessarily right or wrong. While, you know, I like to pick and choose from various lifestyles. I'm not gonna how do I say, box myself in. Here's the thing. You don't have a lot of time. You're a human. You know, let's say on a good century, you got 100 years, on 110, maybe 120 if you're in Okinawa. But realistically, you don't have a lot of time. And the way that I kind of like to look at life is kind of like a pizza pie. How many slices of pie do I have left? If I have 10 slices of pie, and each piece of pie represents 10 years, how many years do I have left in my life? Some people have 8 pieces of pie. Some people have 6 pieces of pie. Some people have 10. Some people have 9. The point is that if whatever piece of the pie that you have, whatever the number is, it's not a lot, given all of the obstacles that is associated with life, is associated with relationships, is associated with learning a skill set. If it takes 10 years, a whole pie, to become a expert in an area and proficient in something, then you have to dedicate a whole slice of pie just to that, right? But then let's go back even further. You have to dedicate another slice of pie just to start your developmental years, right? From 0 to 10, right? You're just developing. You're not even, so, and while those are the years that are going to help develop some of the characteristics and personality that you will have later on, we are ever changing. And while, yeah, some pieces of us from the past will exist within our personality, you know, these are just like, you know, fragments of time that, you know, we're getting. And it's not as much as we think. Like, to a 10-year-old, everything is going so slow. But when that 10-year-old turns 30, everything starts to go real fast. And then you realize, dang, if I have 10 slices of pie and I ate 3 already, I only have what, 7 pieces left if I live to 100. And I just wanted to pop in and add this note that I forgot, is that in the first developmental years of life, you're not even self-aware. You're not even really conscious. And you're not even really self-aware until 25. And the thing about self-awareness is that it's a gradient. You become more and more and more self-aware as you go. It's not just like 1 minute you're not self-aware and you're asleep, and then next minute you're just like, I can show you. No, it's not like that. It's a gradual learning experience, and you become more self-aware as things move forward. And so I will let myself carry on now, you know, and that's from the perspective of, you know, that 10-year-old person, whatever. It's like, or the 10-year-old that turned 30, you know? And so from 0 to 10, you're just growing. You're just trying to figure it out. You're just, trying to get taller, trying to get some knowledge. You're just figuring it out. You haven't even hit puberty yet, right? Then you go through puberty. You go through the teenager stage, right? And that from 10 to 20 is like a huge whirlwind of like insanity. And you are confused. You're making a crap ton of mistakes. Your hormones are out of whack. And you're probably, this is the thing, from 10 to 20, these are like literally some of the most pivotal years in any person's life. And for the most part, that is not emphasized enough in our culture. Instead, you see a lot of this hookup culture. You see a lot of just YOLO culture. You see a lot of, just being completely negligent in this time. Yet, even though that's the time when you need to be buckling down and using the energy reserves that you have to be pushing you forward, most people don't really get it together until, and I don't mean together completely, like most people don't even start to actually process what the hell is going on until 25. And then at 25, things start hitting you and you're like, boom, boom, boom. And you're like, wait a second, what the heck? Oh my God. And you look back and you see certain things shouldn't have gone a certain way. And then, you realize that we live in a society that manipulates naivety. And so because we live in a society that does not protect people, young people, it tries to lure young people into destruction. The world we live in is a trap, okay? And so many things, there's just like so many ways to lure young people into destruction. And I've fallen privy to some of these things, but thankfully I woke up a little bit sooner than a lot of people, sadly. And then let's say at 25 you still don't get the hint, right? Then you're still going off in this like very confused, like still fogginess, while like you're kind of catching some hints. Things are still foggy for you. You're still trying to figure it out, right? You're still trying to have fun. You're still trying to do your thing, whatever. And then from like 25 to 30, you have like a shit ton of epiphanies, and you're just like realizing how many mistakes you've made, and you're trying to develop who you are. You're trying to actually figure out who you are. You're starting to realize like, oh, I'm starting to feel my body. I'm starting to understand my body. I'm starting to realize, oh, I shouldn't eat this. I shouldn't drink this. I shouldn't, I should make sure I go to bed at a certain time. All these things, right? And then you get into, so you're in your 30s, right? Now you're in your like mid 30s. And now this is just from my perspective of what I see society's patterns are. I'm not in my 30s yet, but this is what is very common. So you're in your 30s, and this is the time where it's like, should I make a family? I'm gonna die eventually. I need a lineage. Should I be working on my business? Like how, how is my career going? This is kind of like the point in time where, it's like kind of like a make or break point in everybody's life. It's like by 35, if you don't have it figured out, it's going to be a really rough road. And this is from honestly from 25 to 35. It's a big danger zone on creating apathy. And then if you get apathetic and too jaded in this zone, in your 40s, you'll be a fucking mess. Okay, you will have the whole, what is the where they have the midlife crisis. The midlife crisis. The midlife crisis comes from fucking around in your 20s and not really having it together in your 30s, and then not wanting to take responsibility, not wanting to do the hard work, right? Popping in again. So also another thing is that usually when you've had a midlife crisis, it's because you have absolutely no plan. You don't have a game plan. You planned nothing. Nothing is planned. And so a lot of the times when you don't have a plan, you plan to fail, right? So if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You know, it's kind of like, the thing is that when you make a plan, it's already not going to come out the way you think it's going to come out, right? Because things happen. But if you don't have a plan at all, you will be directionless, and you will be like a chicken with your head off because you have no direction. And that is key. Like it's not that you can't have fun. It's not that you can't enjoy your life. But do you have a plan for your life? People that don't want to do the hard work usually have midlife crisis. It just always happens. The people that did the hard work, by this age, they're probably pretty successful. They probably own a vehicle free and clear. They probably own a home, possibly free and clear. But you're 40 now, you know? You're almost halfway through your life for the most part. Like if you live to 80, you're halfway through, right? If you live to 100, you're a lucky duck, right? So you're going on about your life. You're in your 40s. You may or may not have a midlife crisis depending on what you do, depending on what happened in your life, and depending on the relationships you had. Did you have a horrible divorce? Did you have children with the wrong person? Are your kids a holy hell of a mess? What is the situation? And this is the thing. Why we need to be asking these questions to ourselves in our 20s. When we have conscious awareness of things, but still, we're still a little naive. These are the questions we need to be asking. And it's very important that we do ask ourselves these questions, because if we don't, it's very difficult to not fall to the highest level of training. And this is the thing, if your highest level of training is, I'm not going to ask myself a damn question until I'm 35 and in a mess, well, dude, you're going to have a really hard, rough time. And, that sucks. That really sucks. But if you choose to buckle down and get something done in your late 20s, when your brain is actually understanding and grasping certain concepts, you may be able to pull it together. And the thing is what sucks about this society is not a lot of people get it pulled together. It's a very small percentage of people that actually get their shit together, and most of the rest of the world ends up being a cog, or just a part of the rat race, and they never have real freedom. And they're usually people that never actually woke up. They still are asleep. Their awareness hasn't gone towards a certain point. And then these are the people that the saying, it's not about the car, it's about the mile. It's not about the age of the car, it's about how many miles it's driven. And these are the kinds of people that you'll look at and you'll be like, how are you still this naive? And you've been on this earth for that many years. And we cannot discredit the fact that people like to play dumb sometimes, so let's not forget that. But another thing, when thinking about people who are not self-aware, who are not conscious, they tend to have almost a involuntary response to people, a negative involuntary response to people who are doing the work, who are awake, who seem to just know how to do things. But in reality, it's not that. It's more about how much effort you put into what you're trying to build, and how much effort you put into yourself, how much effort you put into building yourself. And it's really all about what people have been exposed to and what they have not been exposed to, right? Like, you know, people are always scared of what they don't understand. And so my point is that thinking about these things, and you know, and here's the thing, by 50s, a lot of people by 50 are just in their 50s dead. Heart attack, diabetes, stroke, this, that. I'm on a bunch of pills. And even if you live to like 20 or 30 more years, the quality of life is really low. The quality of life is like, oh, I'm taking medication all the time. I'm at doctor's appointments all the time, on this all the time. I'm dependent on so many people all the time. And it's just bills, 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 and more bills, right? And so imagine, you know, you've just been dealt a shit hand, and then you also are asleep. So not only were you born completely oblivious to what the hell was about to happen, you're just at the whim. Life is living you. You're not living life. And that's how a lot of people, unfortunately, come and go. And this is a big reason why I wanted to make this channel, because life is so difficult. Life is difficult because we're a biological creature. We need to rest, we need to eat, we need to take moments to secrete things. And you know, it's not always easy maintaining work, maintaining this, and dealing with the societal issues that continue to stack up on us. You know, it's just so much. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so let's say, you know, you're still trying to figure it out. You know, we all can't be Colonel Sanders or whatever his name is from the KFC. We all know we're not going to all be the KFC man, right? While yes, a lot of us can have a success story at any given time, not all of us are going to be lucky enough to live to 68 and then have a success story. You know, the reality is, if you don't have something going for you now, if you're not working towards something now, you know, it's going to be difficult to do certain things later on when you're not as healthy, when you're not as strong, when you're not as capable. And so understanding that and realizing that who you choose to spend your time with matters. What you waste your time on matters. Do you spend the weekends out getting drunk and then waking up with a hangover, you know, every other weekend? Or are you spending that time, that little time that you have, because it's not a lot, are you spending that little bit of time to actually build yourself and find somebody who is actually equally yoked to what it is that you want in this life? Because once you're here, you know, you're here and then you're gone the next day. And it's just really depressing how there's so much sabotage too on top of that. Like, people, I feel like more people need to talk about this, especially their kids. It's like, there's so much sabotage that happens in this world. So many horrible things that you can't even account for, that you can't even think about, because maybe it's not even fathomable in your brain. But there are things, unexpected things that occur, and if you're also not working towards, bettering yourself and teaching yourself and trying to gain as many skill sets as possible, you're going to be at the whim of whatever curveball life throws at you. You're going to be at the whim of every curveball. And I've realized this, like, a lot of the times when you're right at a breakthrough is when so many things start to fall apart. And it is because you're at this breakthrough that everything is falling apart, because you've reached a new ceiling, and now you have to learn how to, hop over the deception, right? It's kind of like the jumping dinosaur game when your internet goes out. And if you don't, you get to a certain point where you start to know the pattern, right? You're like, oh, boop, boop, boop. But then, like, once you reach a new high, you're like, wait a second, I didn't know that was gonna be there, crap. And then, like, it just goes so fast that you just like, dang it. And you just weren't expecting some of these jumps and some of these ducks that you have to do. You're not expecting, and that's kind of how life is. They're like, oh, you made it, you got this far, oh, well, try to take this, try to take that, can you take this, and they just keep throwing more and more at you until you're like, and then you until that you give up, or you get past that level and you level up, right? But not a lot of people get past that. A lot of people get stuck right there, where they're constantly up and then getting shot down, up and getting shot down, and then that's the big part where people start to give up, because it feels almost just too unbearable, too helpless. And that is the point of you having to push through. That is the point of, I'm 3 feet to gold, but the work has been so difficult, and yet you're only 3 feet away. And if you only knew how close you were, you would keep going. But we never can see how close we are. And so many of us get right there, right to the nose of our blessing, and then we give up, because it just feels too overwhelming. And so I want to say, because I've experienced something like this, and it's really rough, but feel the overwhelm. Feel it. Feel the overwhelm. Let the overwhelm pass, and then come up with a solution. And I know it's easier said than done, but your inaction will make the choice for you. And the consequence of your inaction, while maybe you didn't choose it, it will most likely be something that you didn't want, right? And with coming up with a solution, and with pushing forward, and with trying to get better as opposed to wishing things were easier, you will start to see yourself become more successful, become more efficient, become more productive, and become just, more successful. Like you'll see more progress. That's the word. You'll see more progress, and things will start to get better for you. But it is not like everybody, we say, oh, they were overnight success, but everybody knows that an overnight success usually took 10 to 15 years, right? Sorry, got cut off there. I'm not going to be boxed into certain lifestyles. If I think this part of a specific lifestyle is great, but I don't like other aspects of it. I'm not going to be boxed into that, you know? So just take what you like, throw away what you don't. Take what works for you, throw away what doesn't. And that's kind of how I want to help people to live their lives. Like, you don't have to be so boxed in. You don't have to be like, oh, we have to be always around people that always look like us or talk like us or dress like us or eat like us. You know, we can mix it up. We can mix and match. We can, you know, enjoy different aspects and different colors of this whole thing. And so I think the biggest problem society has had for centuries is a narrow-minded thinking in ways that are like towards positivity, because people are very open when it comes to, you know, being sexual or, you know, doing things that are not really that great. Yeah, let's be open when it's disgusting and exploitive. But when it actually is something that is beneficial to expanding our minds, people don't want to pay attention to the tools and the resources that bring us towards that more positive life, that more positive perspective, that more beneficial way of thinking of things. Most people will be broken down by the things that society throws at you. And that's another thing. Most people will be broken by the things that society gives us if they don't have the proper mindset, if they don't have the proper wisdom and endurance too, as well. Because, you know, and this is why the suicide rate is absolutely astronomically high in this country. And it has to do with the fact that people don't have the mental and psychological tools and resources to help themselves be better people. Instead, we live in a society that continuously throws traps and manipulates us and gaslights us, and then we're going in circles trying to figure out, wait, what's right, what's wrong. You can talk to 10 people and get 10 different opinions about the same thing. So it's all about really getting involved and doing the work to figure out what is actually correct and, you know, what is actually the proper way to go about things, because people are imperfect, no matter how perfect they seem, you know. And while I know there's some people that are just overachievers, we can't put all of our faith in man. And that's another thing that's what I wanted to bring up. You know, imagine a world and a society where there was no Christian values, you know, where Jesus Christ never existed. Imagine a world like that. It would be disgusting. It would be no rules. It would be survival of the strongest and the most repulsive and the most, you know, like scrappy, but not in a good way, you know, the most vile, you know. And the thing is that we would be at the whim of kings who looked at people and everything as just an object to objectify. And that's where we would be right now. You know, most of us would be slaves. Others would be, you know, slaves in a rat race of their own ways. You know, the thing is like, without God, without the Bible, even whether you believe in the Bible or not, you benefit from the standard that it puts society under. You benefit from that. You benefit from people saying please and thank you. You benefit from people having morals. You benefit from the thief on the street, you know, instead of, you know, thinking to himself, oh yeah, I'll just take anybody's life. They have a conscience because of the societal standard and the moral standard. You benefit from that. But as that degrades, you will see how your life will degrade. The further away we get from the standard of the Bible, the further away we get from humanity, the further away we get from love, the further away we get from proper, healthy life. You know, most of the United States is on pharmaceuticals. We don't even know how to take, most people don't know how to take care of themselves, and a lot of people do not know what this saying means. Only the good die young. Break that down. What does that mean? Only the good die young. That means only the healthy die young. Only the people that ate good, fed themselves well, took care of their bodies, they die young. They quite literally die younger. And so this is that food is thy medicine. Food is thy medicine. A lot of people don't know certain things to take. It's so funny because people die and it's not funny. It sucks. I just, you know, it's sad, but it's funny also in a way. Like, it's so simple how people will die over something that could have been fixed so simply. You know how many people have a heart attack just because they don't have enough magnesium in their diet? It's more simple than we're making it. And this is a loaded topic, but we live in a society that thrives on the ignorance of others, and that is why society is always going back to just we are always it's cyclical. We only rise up to a certain level and then it gets destroyed because of a few people. So maybe we can stop the cycle. Maybe we can put a wedge in that cycle, break that cycle, and say, no, we're going to do things differently now. We're going to stand for what is actually right. We're going to do things properly. We're not going to be so involved in chemicals and things that are not actually good for us or the environment. You know, the way that we deal with waste is incredibly destructive. And I think it's because our society is so uneducated. You know, people, yes, while we're an technologically advanced society, most people are not that smart. Most people are not self-aware. Most people, they are just trying to deal with survival. And a lot of people are asleep. And just like the bald guy from The Matrix who sabotaged everybody and, was talking about how delicious the steak was and how he doesn't care because at least his mind thinks it's real. And it's very important to take note of the fact that there are people who would prefer to stay asleep. That can go in so many directions and can go hand in hand with weaponized ignorance. And, a lot of people would like to remain ignorant so that they don't have to be accountable. And so that's another big key thing. And, because of that, things have been, we've allowed things to get as far as they have because people don't actually know what they're looking at. It's kind of like rocket science. If you're not a rocket scientist, you're not going to know what you're looking at. If someone tells you how to make a rocket, you don't know what you're looking at. And that's a big thing, is that a lot of people will look at something and they don't see the value in it because they don't even know what they're looking at. And so to them it looks like trash, but it's actually gold. And so I'm going to leave you guys with that. That is my word of the day. This is En Route. It was great talking to you. Have a wonderful weekend.